Alright, so today I'm going to be talking about when protesting gets out of hand. So I'm sure most of you have watched the news here lately or watch the news on a regular basis, so I'm sure you know what's going on in the world today. And you can tell that protesting has been getting out of hand, and today I'm going to be persuading you by showing you many examples of how it has been getting out of hand. So there are good and there are bad effects of protesting. The good effects, it can bring changes to the community, if they're trying to send the right message, and it can really help the community thrive. It also strengthens the community because it brings people together, and it really shows that we can work together to get things done if we do it the right way. And then we can send a positive message by doing that. And then we have the bad effects as shown in this picture right here. When people are protesting and it gets out of hand and people throw like napalm or, get tear gas and, then the rioters or then the police force come in and then it just leads to a bunch of injuries and a bunch of chaos, and it really sends a negative message to the world. And it makes America look bad because we're fighting over each other instead of working together to, make our country better. And it also leads to a lot of innocent lives being taken. Many people have lost their lives during these because they turn into riots, and people take advantage of the situation and they just do stupid things that can get people killed. And that's not what America stands for. And it can cause disorder and chaos in the community, much like during the Michael Brown or the Ferguson protests. It lasted for like a week or so, and people would just for a whole week just riot, and that whole community was just so chaotic and got out of hand, and a lot of people got hurt, and just was a bad situation. But so there are a lot of examples I need to show you about that kind of prove that protesting has been getting out of hand, and why. So one of them is the Colin Kaepernick national anthem kneeling. He, if you don't know, he would kneel before the game during the national anthem, and the reason he did it, he said, "I am not going to stand up to show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses black people and people of color." And he may have been trying to get a good message across to the country, but he was disrespectful towards America and towards our veterans who risk their lives every day for us to live in this free country. He could have went about a more respectable way, kind of getting his message across. And then we have politics and protesting, and politics brings out the worst in protesters. Ever since Trump has been elected, we've had many protests in DC and all over, one of them being women's rights protests. They believe that their rights would be taken away, even though, they already have their rights. He can't take away rights they already have. That goes against the Constitution. And then you have the travel ban protest, which were whenever Trump banned the foreign immigrants from coming in and leaving, they took it out of hand, and just they didn't see why he was doing it. He was doing it for a good cause for our country. And then you have gay right protests. Trump, after he got elected, he did hold up a gay pride flag, and he said, I'm not going to take gay rights away and stuff like that. But yet they still protest, thinking that he's just lying. But it just doesn't make any sense. And then here are some of the statistics about how America really feels about protesting. And I have some graphs here. They're hard to see, but the red right here is whether people felt that it hurt the protest movement, or whether the protest hurt the movement, or whether it helped. And as you can see, a majority of them thought it hurt more than it helped. Then over here, we have, people who felt either more sympathetic or less sympathetic about the cause. And after these protests and stuff, people thought, they felt less sympathetic for the cause. It didn't really help much because of all the violence. And even though there has been a lot of negative protest movements, there have been some positive that get the message across and that work more effectively. And so the civil rights movement was one of those, due to this man, Martin Luther King, who was a great leader who did not want violence, who wanted to, get his message across the right way and in a peaceful way. And he had a great influence on people. He brought people together for the right cause, and they all stood behind him. And they got it done. They got more rights for blacks. And then the civil rights movement has kind of come back into flow again, here recently due to all these shootings with cops and blacks and stuff. So when does violence undermine its credibility? Even though it is trying to send a good message, violence has kind of undermined that, with the shootings, the looting, the vandalism, the destruction of businesses, and innocent people getting injured. And, it's just really bad. The Ferguson protests, especially, people jumped to conclusions too quick, and they started blaming all these cops for this stuff, and people were literally holding up signs telling to kill cops, and it was really bad. It really earned a bad name for the police force in America, and not all cops are pigs. There are good cops out there, and many people just took advantage of the situation. The people I like to call opportunists, who come in from all around the country, and they're not even from the area, but they come there to loot and take advantage of the rioting, and they're selfish and they take for themselves, and they don't try to help send that message to the world, like a positive message. And so, many of the protests led to riots and people getting injured, and people started to lose sight of what they were really protesting for. So in conclusion, I have to say that protesting is getting out of hand in America, and that we, the people, need to do something about it to make it go back to its roots and be more peaceful and try to get that peaceful message across. And, there's a fine line between protesting and breaking the law and rioting. Thank you.